Welcome back to the Great Expanse by JohnBat426 here on YouTube. It is such a pleasure for me right now to be coming before you guys with a new video because last week was a show. And I'm not going to say what kind of show. You can supply your own adjective here. Show. Yeah. But last week was a show. So I'm going to leave it at that. But I'm just so grateful to come before you guys right now with a new video. Alright, and without going into any specifics about what's been going on, doesn't really matter. I'm just happy to be here. I'm glad to be back before you all. I hope you guys have been enjoying the videos. If you like the videos that you've seen thus far, hit the like button. If not, hit the dislike button. Share these videos with other people that you know that like comic book related stuff as much as you do. Subscribe to the channel, hit that bell for notifications. Which one? All. Not personalized or the one underneath, but all. So the next time a new video is dropped, you'll know about it second. I'll know about it first. Alright, whatever. One Breath Champ, that would be me. And again, as I said, I'm so glad to be here. It really needs to be said. Take every day as it comes and count your blessings while you have them. Do it. Let's leave it there. Alright. So, we're going to do something that I've been wanting to do for a while. Okay? And I think I found the source of the feedback. But again, I hope you guys can't hear it. Hopefully I'll just hear it. I did a top 10 for my favorite superhero of all time, which is... Go ahead. You got it. The one that said Spider-Man? Yes, you're correct. And here's your reward. Applause. We're now going to do my top 10 villains of my second favorite superhero, who was... Batman. Swear to me! Okay. Batman, yes. Bruce Wayne. Okay? As you all know, Bruce Wayne is the alter ego. Batman is the real person. Because Bruce Wayne has committed himself to crusading for justice and defending Gotham City so that the innocent of Gotham would not suffer the same fate that his parents did. So he is really Batman. And most of his work comes in trying to create a facade and identity as Bruce Wayne. But Batman is really who he is in his soul. Okay? And I love Batman. I love the fact that he's a normal guy. He can be killed by anybody, but he's going out there risking life and limb either way. He's studying. He's doing all these disciplines. He's I forgot what the name of it is. The polymath. There we go. He's a great word for the Great Expanse by JohnBat426. Polymath. He's an expert in multiple things. Is it because he's brilliant? No. It's not because he's brilliant. It's because he's even better than being brilliant. He's studious. He studies extensively. Brilliance just comes. Pause. But brilliance just doesn't really have to be exercised. But when you're studious, you have to work hard. And that's who Batman is. Batman is a hard worker. Is he genius level? Yes. But that's why when I was comparing him and Spider-Man, Spider-Man was born with that affinity towards science. So that's why I said Spider-Man is brilliant, because it just comes to him without trying. Scientific stuff. Batman, no, he has to work on this stuff. He became the world's greatest detective. What is a detective? Somebody that picks up clues along the way to figure out what the puzzle is. If he was brilliant, he'd already know what it was. Does that make sense? So yes, Batman is genius, but not quite brilliant. But people might say, well, he's brilliant. Look at all the stuff he put together. Okay. So let me get off of that soapbox, even though the view from my soapbox is splendid, splendoriferous, and picturesque. And we're going to go with the top 10 villains of Batman's Rogues Gallery. So let's go with the honorable mentions first. Somebody that was tough to leave off the list. The Riddler. The Riddler is one of my favorite villains because he creates puzzles. He creates riddles that you have to think about. You have to think outside of the box. And the Batman. We saw that there was a clue starring Robert Pattinson and Andy Serkis and Paul Dano, okay? The one that came out in 2022. You see at the crime scene, there is a note to for the Batman, There's a riddle inside. What happens when a liar lies? Batman said the answer is he lies still. That was just a riddle inside of the riddle, inside of a bigger riddle, inside of a huge riddle. So there's a lot of thinking that has to go on to really get to understand what the Riddler's motives are. Okay, and you really got to be smart. All right. For many years, his name was Edward Nygma, but recently it was like Edward Nashton. So whatever. but tough to leave the Riddler off just because you have to be kind of cerebral to figure him out. Another honorable mention that I might be getting some flack for, but I don't care. Carmine Falcone, not just because of the Batman, but in Batman Year One, the graphic novel, in The Long Halloween, you see that this man ruled Gotham City for years, generations. He ran Gotham City, Carmine Falcone. And then, of course, with the upswing in super villain traffic, Harvey Dent becoming Two-Face, he couldn't stand anymore. He didn't have enough to stem the tide of these eccentric, bizarre villains like Joker, Mad Hatter, Solomon Grundy, Poison Ivy. You know what I mean? The Penguin. But Carmine Falcone is definitely a true Batman villain, and it was tough to leave him off the list because I like organized crime and superhero properties. Okay, another one that was tough for me, one of my favorites, Mad Hatter, Jervis Tetch. Silly, goofy, campy, and most of the Batman stuff is campy, but it works for me. The Mad Hatter, he's dressed like a character from Alice in Wonderland. He's a homicidal, schizophrenic lunatic. Okay. Another tough one to leave off the list, the Scarecrow. Again, a campy character. He's dressed like a scarecrow. His thing is fear. That's all there is to him. But he's a deadly foe. Because Batman might not be afraid, but the average citizen might be scared and they might go jump off a building. Then Batman gotta leave Scarecrow to go save them. And one of the toughest to leave off this list, Solomon Grundy. Born on a Monday, christened on a Tuesday, married on Wednesday, took ill on a Thursday. I forgot the rest of the poem. Cyrus Gold. He was executed in Slaughter Swamp in, I think, Louisiana somewhere. But he was like a 1940s hood, like a gangster or whatever. He was murdered in a swamp that had mystical properties, and he was reborn as the undead Solomon Grundy. Similar to the Incredible Hulk, Solomon Grundy has different personas, different personalities that manifest every once in a while. It's like with every death, he kind of comes back different. Sometimes he's just Solomon Grundy. And other times he's very cerebral. I had a Justice Society of America comic book where he had like a suit on and he looked like Tombstone, was acting like Mr. Fix-It, because he's super strong and stuff. But all these guys were tough to leave off of this list, okay? So we're gonna go into my top 10. Now, let's deviate from the norm here. We all know who number one is. So let's just get number one out the way right now. The Joker. Who else? The Clown Prince of Crime. I believe his real name, according to DC Comics as of last year, is Jack Oswald White. If they would just said Jack Napier from the Batman movie from 1989, I would have been cool with it. Because Joker never had a name before. Now, we saw like one of his origins. Remember, his origin story isn't set, so the Killing Joke's portrayal of him as a failed comedian isn't necessarily his origin story. He said sometimes I remember it in different ways. He said I like to have what's that called? Multiple choice. Joker's crazy. But that's one of the more popular Joker origin stories. But either way, he did become the Red Hood, and he tried to rob the Monarch playing card company. He was foiled by Batman and fell into a vat of chemicals. In one comic book, Batman listed the chemicals. Okay. And he says he memorized them to see how the heck this guy survived this. How did he become the Joker? Like, why wasn't he, like, liquefied? Okay? So the Joker, the antithesis of Batman. He represents chaos. Batman represents order. Batman represents, like, grim, stoic, darkness. Joker represents outlandish, colorful, just mayhem. Okay? Joker, many people say, is the greatest supervillain of all time. And I can't argue that. Joker, another campy character. He's a clown. He looks like a clown. But yes, Joker is number one on this list. Okay, so I figure I just get out of the way because that's a no-brainer. The Joker's number one. All right, so let's go to number 10. Maybe not a popular pick. Okay, but this one kind of flirts with being a supervillain and with being a part of organized crime. The Penguin. Maybe not a very, climactic pick. Oswald Cobblepot. I like the fact that he is a sane criminal in the Batman universe. And there aren't many. Penguin and Catwoman, when they get arrested, they don't go to Arkham Asylum because they're perfectly sane. Penguin goes to Blackgate Penitentiary. He's the only one there from Batman's Rogues Gallery. Alright? And he's a fence. In other words, he has goods stolen and he sells them at a price that brings him a profit. And Penguin will not hesitate to kill you. He's like a mob boss. And he also has to trick umbrellas. He has what do you call it? He's an aficionado of exotic birds. He has the appearance of a penguin. He waddles. He says, wah. You know what I mean? But I know in the 1966 Batman, Burgess Meredith portrayed the penguin, and he would go, wah, wah, wah. But that really wasn't even brought into the comic books as to him actually saying that until, I think, Dark Victory. You know what I mean? Because, you know, when he was robbing, I think, was Zuko, or was it Falcone? I don't know. He's robbing some shipping dock in Dark Victory, and he's actually saying wah. And that was one of the first times that he ever voiced that. You know, it was some 40 something years later. All right. Penguin, always one of my favorites. The fact that he's really short, I like that because it's sort of ironic. It's like, wait, this short runt is this like this threat to Gotham City. This guy runs the city in his own way as like a part of organized crime, as a supervillain, as a foil of Batman's. Yes, the Penguin, he just possesses that much power. And Penguin is on my list, like it or not. It's my list, not yours. Come up with your own list. Actually, come up with your own list in the comment section. David Brent, please let them know where their own list of Batman's top 10 villains could go. You got it? Put your list there. All right. Number 9. Maybe not as popular as the Penguin or my other honorable mentions. But again, in the vein of organized crime and supervillainy, Black Mask, Roman Sionis. Yes, Black Mask. Very similar to the Red Skull in appearance, but it's black instead of red. But it is a skull. And he has I forgot the word. But yes, his sort of gimmick, I guess you could say, his fetish, there we go, better word. A great word for the Great Expanse by John Beth 426, fetish, F-E-T-I-S-H. His fetish is with Mask. He tortures people. Black Mask is another one of these organized crime guys that sort of has like the aptitude of a supervillain in Gotham City. A very dangerous individual, a very dangerous component of Batman's rogues gallery. Black Mask has died and come back so many times. I think Catwoman killed him in one version. In Darkest Night, I think he came back as a Black Lantern. You know how comic books have been in the last like 10 years or so. It's like, oh, let's do this, let's do that, let's do this. Let's kill him, kill her, bring her back, bring him back, you know. So, but Black Mask, great character to me, okay? All right, number 8. Maybe not another popular pick. This is my list. Killer Croc. Yes, Killer Croc. Waylon Jones. I like the way that he was portrayed in Vendetta from the first season of Batman the Animated Series, where he had a vendetta, okay, against people that put him away. So this Killer Croc was a thinker. He was ultimately trying to frame Harvey Bullock, who put him away. So he kidnapped other informants, Joey the Snail, and I can't remember the other guy's name. But this one was premeditative, if that's a word. He was calculating. This is the Killer Croc that I prefer. And then if you get into a physical combat with him, he can just kill you and crush you, because he was a wrestler. You know what I mean? So he has physical prowess along with his strength, and in other iterations of Killer Croc, he's a cannibal. Yes, a cannibal is a person that eats other people. Disgusting. Yeah. But Killer Croc is a physical adversary of Batman, and you know I like physical adversaries. Killer Croc, so his fetish is reptilian, alligator. He has something called hyperkeratosis. That's why his skin is sort of scaly like an alligator's. And Killer Croc is number 8 on my list. All right. Number 7. Pamela Isley, better known as Poison Ivy. Anytime I say that, I always think about Harley Quinn, where she says, "Are you an idiot?" She says, "My name is Poison." Talking to Kite Man. Poison Ivy, she's definitely getting a lot more steam because of the Harley Quinn animated series. But Poison Ivy has always been a terrific supervillain. People call her an eco-terrorist, so that she kind of flirts that line between eco-terrorism and being a supervillain. But her thing is the environment. Her fetish is the environment. She befriends plants to avoid human intimacy.
Nailed it, Frank. No.
Okay? So if you are a CEO and you are involved in things that despoil the environment, a great word for the Great Expanse by John Beth 426, despoil, D-E-S-P-O-I-L, she'll kill you. And she'll feel justified in it, and she'll hopefully bring down your empire so that plants or swampland or wetlands can be put where you have violated the environment. So she's an extremist. She's an eco-terrorist. Pamela Isley, very powerful. One of Batman's superpowered characters. Most of these guys on here aren't. Like Riddler isn't. Scarecrow, Carmine Falcone, Mad Hatter, Penguin, of course, Black Mask. They aren't superpowered people, but Pamela Isley is probably one of Batman's most powerful villains. Okay? And just that ability to just control plants and nature. I just love that kind of stuff. Alright? So Poison Ivy, definitely one of my favorites at number 7, okay? Number 6. Who maybe could be number 1, but isn't because Joker's number 1. Mr. Freeze! Victor Freeze. I love Mr. Freeze. I love ice-powered villains, okay? But this one was given a tragic backstory in Batman the Animated Series by Bruce Timm and Paul Dini, where he worked for GothCorp, and Ferris Boyle was the boss, or the CEO of GothCorp. And Victor Freeze was just trying to find a cure for his wife's terminal illness. They never said exactly what it was. And Batman and Robin was called McGregor syndrome, okay? Whatever, you can call it that. But he was portrayed by Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze, okay? Don't remind me of that movie. But anyway, Mr. Freeze, he was trying to save his wife. A malfunction happened in the cartoon because of something that Ferris Boyle did. They were like tussling, and I think they tripped over a conduit or something. He was bathed in what's that stuff called? Freon. And so his body can't survive unless it's in a zero temperature environment. I think I said that correctly. So he walks around in a refrigerated suit, which I wish I had one now because it's summertime. Sometimes I really wish I did have a refrigerated suit. He has an ice cannon. He has no superpowers. Zero. He can't shoot it from his hand. He needs a gun. Okay? Mr. Freeze, definitely one of my favorites. I think all the episodes with Mr. Freeze in it in Batman the Animated Series are some of the standouts. That's probably why he's not in it that much, because his episodes are just epic to me. Okay? Number 5. Bane. And no, I do not know Bane's real name. I don't know if it's ever been given before. Let me see if there is actually a name for Bane. Has there ever been a real name? Okay, I'm sorry. In Gotham, his name was Eduardo Durant, which I don't think is comic accurate. No. It says no name is ever given in the comics. All right. So there's no name for Bane. Bane is a mysterious character born in Santa... No. I think he was born in Peñadora, the prison in the fictional island nation of Santa Prisca, which he eventually came to take over. Calculating. Bane's, of course, his most prominent story arc is Nightfall, okay, where he breaks the back of Batman, and Batman was out of action for about a year. Then he fought Jean-Paul Valley, who was a different version of Batman, and then became Azrael. But Bane, he's a tactical strategist. I mean, he kind of cheated in a way. He said basically if Batman's running around and he's just driven mad and sort of frayed, you know what I mean? Because he's fighting crime all around. He destroyed Arkham Asylum so that all the inmates could escape. So Batman was just spent just trying to put all these criminals away. And that's when Bane confronted him in Wayne Manor. He knew he was Bruce Wayne. Bane did. He figured it out. And he broke his back in Wayne Manor, then carried him to a building in Gotham, announced his intentions as taking over Gotham City, and threw Batman from the top of a building. And Batman splattered on the street. Bane, awesome character. What do I think of his portrayal in The Dark Knight Rises? It was flawed. It was flawed. First of all, his mask is a luchador mask. That's just the tradition of Mexican wrestlers, Mexican grapplers, to have a mask, okay, to cover their faces. And this one is like a life support system. Not quite a life support system, but according to the guy, he says, the mask keeps the agony, the perpetual agonies at bay. So it's like drugs, or whatever. It's keeping his face from hurting. Then he had a... Perhaps he was away with Superman. Then throw him from a plane. Voice comical. And the fact that he's European Asian instead of being Latino is flawed. I'm not saying it's terrible, but it's flawed. He's not from Santa Prisca. He wasn't born in Peñadora. He's born in a hole somewhere. Still a great villain, but that's not the Bane we know and love. Okay? Alright. We're getting to the top... I'm going to say the top 3, even though I'm not including number 1, because we know Joker's number 1. But these three could be number one because I really appreciate these three characters. So number 4, counting Joker is number 1. Two-Face, Harvey Dent, one of my favorite super villains in all of the comic book medium. Superpowers? None. 0. Let me see, do I have a coin around here? Not a big coin, but he decides your fate with the flip of a coin. Heads or tails, kitty cat. Okay? He was voiced in Batman the Animated Series by Richard Mall, who plays Bull in Night Court. Yes, when I saw the title credits, the liner notes, I was like, Bull played Two-Face? One of my favorite characters. Of course, his origin story was kind of redone in Batman The Long Halloween, one of my favorite Batman stories of all time. When he was originally presented in comic books, his name was Harvey Kent, and not Harvey Dent. He was known as Apollo. He was still a DA. He still had Sal Maroni throw the stuff in his face. He still became Two-Face. But he was known as Harvey Kent. But it was changed over the years, I don't know exactly which year, to Harvey Dent. Crusading DA, he knows the law. Another great story is basically the sequel to Batman The Long Halloween, Dark Victory, which I like. I think it's a great graphic novel. It's a great follow-up, too. But you see how calculating Two-Face is. And yes, he is a supervillain, no doubt. But his psychosis is weird. It's like he can follow the letter of the law. He knows it. And based on the coin flip, he will or will not commit a crime. Now, he was portrayed awfully by Tommy Lee Jones in Batman Forever from 1995. I didn't like Two-Face in that story at all. Nothing he did was good. I'm sorry. Not even the gorgeous Drew Barrymore could save the Two-Face iteration. Stupid! He was absolutely stupid. Aaron Eckhart, I thought he did a way better job. And this is kind of off topic, but it's kind of still on the same topic. I think Two-Face would have worked much better had Billy D. Williams reprised his role as Harvey Dent. Because remember, Harvey Dent was like a godsend in Gotham City. He was beloved by all. Like, he was christened Apollo because all the women loved him. And Billy D. Williams has that reputation as an actor. It's like, oh, this is the coolest guy ever. You know what I mean? Like, I'm talking about Billy D. Williams. I'm not talking about like Lando Calrissian or anybody he's portrayed. But Billy D. Williams himself is sort of seen as a beloved character. If he would have been burned in acid, I mean, his character, him portraying Harvey Dent, who knows how it could have been received? Because to see Billy D. Williams become like this awful villain, I thought it would have been so effective. And that's not no disrespect to Tommy Lee Jones. Because basically Joel Schumacher said, here's how he's going to be portrayed, please do it. Tommy Lee Jones is a great actor. But his portrayal was garbage because of Joel Schumacher. But it would have been very interesting to see Billy D. Williams reprise his role as Harvey Dent. But Harvey Dent, Two-Face, easily one of my favorite supervillains of all time. All right. Number 3. This is a tough one because 3, 2, and 1 are, well, 1, 2, 3, and 4, Joker, Two-Face, and the other 2. Okay. They always sort of wrestle for who's my favorite. But number 3, Hush. Hush, yes, Thomas Elliott. A newer villain, but because of the Hush graphic novel and Heart of Hush, Hush Money, great supervillain. Great. A great foil for Batman. Somebody that is just as strategically tactical as Bruce Wayne, as Batman is. He was a childhood friend of Bruce Wayne, and like Bruce Wayne, he was set to inherit a fortune. Unlike Bruce Wayne, he arranged the murder of his parents so he could gain his inheritance at a young age, but his mother survived the attempt. So then Thomas Elliott, he starts sort of like taking care of his mother because she's like hideously deformed because of the accident where he cut the brake line himself on the limousine to kill his mother and father. So he's taking care of his mother for all these years. He starts dating Jezebel. No, not Jezebel Jet. Peyton Riley, I think. Is that her name? Peyton Riley? The female ventriloquist. Okay, you know, in Scarface. Peyton Riley is she was the daughter of a gangster. And his mother found out that he was dating a gangster's daughter, and she cut him off from his inheritance. So what did he do? He smothered her to receive his inheritance. Thomas Elliott, very disturbed. Very disturbed. Okay, so he's like I said, he's like an antithesis of Bruce Wayne. Young orphan, billionaire orphan, and his skills are in surgery. He's based out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, one of the few comic book characters, period, to be based out of Philly. okay? Because that's where I'm broadcasting from, Philly. So we're represented by a lunatic named Tom Selleck. But anyway, he went around the world to learn from the best. He heavily scrutinized Batman's rogues gallery to learn from them, from Jonathan Crane, from Mr. Freeze, to help enact his plan of revenge against Batman. But he didn't tell anybody that Batman was Bruce Wayne. He and the Riddler figured it out first, and then he informed Hush about it, and they formed this huge plan to destroy the Dark Knight. And as a side note, Hush altered his face, surgically altered his own face to look like Bruce Wayne. You see this in Arkham City, and you see it realized in Arkham Knight, okay? Hush, one of my favorites. One of my favorite Batman villains, okay? Number 2. Remember, Joker's number 1. We already know, so this is sort of number 1, okay? As in terms of how I'm going to unveil it. But my number 1, that's not number 1, Roz Al Ghul, the Demon's Head. Yes. Somebody that made Batman a global crusader rather than just a crusader in Gotham City. Roz Al Ghul is a global threat. If he had his wish, he would end humanity so that the world would go back to its original state of savagery. When I say savagery, I mean of plants growing, poisonous plants. The animal kingdom would rise up, would resurface, where animals kill their food, to eat. You know what I mean? So it's out of necessity for survival. Roz Al Ghul would just be a caretaker of that world to make sure that humankind didn't interfere anymore. I remember in one story, Roz Al Ghul had one of his minions killed because he fed chocolate, I think, to like a rare tiger, and the tiger died because it can't process chocolate or something like that, according to the story. Roz Al Ghul had him executed for killing the tiger cub because that's who Roz Al Ghul is. He's an eco-terrorist like Pamela Isley, but he will set off an extinction-level event for humanity to bring about his goals. So Batman must stop him to save the planet or a city. We saw him portrayed by Liam Neeson, which was Batman Begins. I'm gonna do a video about the Batman movies and where each one is placed in order. Okay. Batman Begins. Liam Neeson portrays him. He originally it looked like Ken Watanabe was going to portray Roz Al Ghul, but it was a feint. F-E-I-N-T. Liam Neeson, Ducard, was really Roz Al Ghul training Bruce Wayne, and he said that Bruce Wayne was his greatest student. And the back and forth between Liam Neeson and Christian Bale after he reveals himself to Christian Bale. But Christian Bale looked at him and said,
"Or cheap parlor tricks to conceal your true identity, Roz."
And he kind of confirmed it with a little nod, like, "You got it, detective." Okay. And that's just great back and forth between those two fantastic actors. But Roz Al Ghul, easily one of my favorite. Babel, the Justice League graphic novel, was adapted into an animated series where basically Roz Al Ghul steals Batman's contingency plans for the Justice League and he enacts them. Okay, so he takes out Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Kyle Rayner's Green Lantern, The Flash, and I think there are others, whatever, using Batman's plans for them. And this was adapted into the animated feature Justice League Doom, but this featured the Legion of Doom with Vandal Savage. They didn't incorporate the Roz Al Ghul segment. Okay? And similar to the book Babel, B-A-B-E-L, Roz Al Ghul was going to give Batman what he always wanted. He said, "I will." He did exhume Martha and Thomas Wayne. Okay, so by the time Batman got to Roz Al Ghul's stronghold, Roz Al Ghul had both coffins suspended above the Lazarus pit. He said, "Detective, I will give you your greatest wish. I will resurrect your parents for you if you allow me." I forgot again what his end game was. Okay, but Roz Al Ghul is just a global threat. Roz Al Ghul is a great character. Awesome character that I want to see portrayed again in the new DCU, which will be brought to us by James Gunn. And I apologize for the length of this video is going a little longer than I would prefer, but I'm just so glad to be in front of you guys again. Because like I said, last week I wasn't able to do any videos, which really hurt a little bit. But I'm glad that hopefully things are straightening out and I can just, again, these are almost like therapy sessions for me. I get to sort of talk about things I want to talk about and sort of let it all out, okay? So if you've liked the video, please hit the like button, all right? So that the YouTube algorithm can see that we've got traffic coming in, traffic going out. David Brent, please let them know where their comments or their dissertations go so they can argue this list and come up with their own list if possible, sir. Thank you, Mr. Brent. Do your part, and I'll do my part so that the Great Expanse by John Bat 426 can and will expand. It's in the name.